Hello, Blue folks. Welcome back. This is Pxy-STUDY. Today we're gonna do something a bit different, and this is not something that is the first time I'm trying to do. I'm not a developer, programmer, but I know some tricks and not enough of Python scripting, of course. But I know that apparently those AI assistants, in this case, I'm employing, or I know there are others, but this one. There's a free version. Yeah, it's Microsoft junk, so it's like they steal things like Google, YouTube, whatever. Google, they steal big tech, Western big tech. They steal content from people. Your content, my content, my tutorials, whatever, artists' content, whatever. Then they steal that, and then they try to make their AI, which is an incorrect term anyway, because it's not intelligent in some sense, and it's also not artificial. It wasn't made by itself. So, although made by humans. So anyways, the GitHub Copilot. So here we can, I've tested it. Apparently it can lead to somewhere. And the first question here, but my previous chat disappeared, so it doesn't matter too much because we're gonna rebuild this. So what I want to do is I want to make an auto IQ option 2.0, and that will be because it seems that auto IQ option, which only works on pose mode, right, in Blender, it's hard coded in C, but we can probably developed it as a Python script, full Python script, so an add-on also, and that will mimic, first of all, mimic the same behavior. So we enable here. Yeah, this was a previous attempt, but it's not really working here. Furthermore, I'm on Blender 5. Let's see if this thing can catch some. Hi, I'm using Blender 5.0, the official release. Can you make add-on for me? Or help me make an add-on, right? More to say. I can. I start giving you by dumps. What are you talking about? I haven't. Yeah, so this is the basic things for add-on. So we're gonna skip it because I can ask later. I can. So it's a add-on template, right? Something like that. So all that. Okay, so maybe we can use this after all. Maybe this is something related to, I don't know what those things, classes. You need to do all this for an add-on now? Well, import BPY from operate. What is add cube? No, this is just a stupid example. It's not what I asked. I asked. Do you understand the Blender 4 Pi in the code? So it's so smart it cannot tell me. Basically, last time I've asked something about that, it told me it was its development, its package, its content was based on Blender 4.0, I think, and I was using already Blender 4.5 LTS. Yes, I looked up at okay, API changed, okay, and compiled the developer notes. I ran a web search and here's the final. So maybe, yeah, so because these publications from the Blender fellows, then it's probably this is gonna help this system. So I don't want to know what this is about uh, in details, right? I just wanted to know if we can trust this thing, because sometimes it will try to force the way through and it will just play some junk. So let's my plan, my objective, assuming we can do this correctly, because it's the version I'm using right now. My objective is to make an add-on that can mimic the auto key option on pause mode, which seems to build in C code and not instead of more accessible Python script. This is why after having it fully remade in Python script with your assistance, hopefully we'll be making a different key option from that. And auto key option 2.0, because you're gonna make some changes. I'm just making this all this context. I'm not sure it still help, but usually it's good to have some details, so probably so it might not skip some fundamentals. So you see, in the process of here, I'm not exactly sure what it was, but this thing was already implementing some counting of some things, but now it's probably is broken, so we'll probably need to remake this. Also, I'm gonna turn this, yeah, let's turn this off. Maybe we can uninstall it entirely. We don't care. Yeah. So of course this is time consuming. There's no guarantee this will work. I want it to be on pause options tab panel as well. Okay, yeah, there's your goal is and the constraints of Blender 5.0. You want a Python add-on that reproduces the built-in auto key behavior, exactly, which is implemented in C, and then extend it to a new auto key with additional features. I can build this iteratively. First, deliver a small testable MVP that mimics the current auto key. Yeah, good in Python. Then extend it with the new features you want. Before I start coding, here's the plan, import implementation notes for Blender 5. So you know, in the beginning, using this thing, I have learned a few Python scripting specifically for Blender rigging problems, and I went some interesting challenges. So I know I've learned some basics just in about 1 month training a little. I was been able to make some rig UI panel on my own, right? Of course, with some research, but then I was not even using this thing. I was very wary about using this. Some pretty confusing, but then I saw some. I made up my mind. I'll make some tests. I saw what other people were doing and how they were using this tool, and suddenly I tried to begin, and it's start not that hard actually, and sometimes it's good because it explains things that maybe it might not be easy. For example, I didn't know auto IQ option was in C. It didn't occur me. I believe it was somewhere, but it found some data and about it, and apparently it is what it is the case. But cannot be totally sure, but I believe that's the case. So this stuff sometimes is good at explaining some stuff. And this is useful when dealing with those code programming stuff, because it can lead to some findings, to some learning process, even though we are not even if we don't succeed in building something like. And it needs to be an add-on, because then we can add this to the, and then I can share also. I don't intend to sell this stuff, although it will be very good, but if I can succeed doing this, it will be groundbreaking in Blender, and I'm ready to try to do this in Blender 5.0. The idea here, I'm gonna just show to you. Do you see these chains are connected? They are ready to use with auto IQ option, right? We can control. What I want to do is to see if we can build a I want to see if we can build. I know another programmer, a developer have done something about that, but what I want to do here is to be able to pin this bone and everything that comes after it while we are posing. So it will, you see that as I grab this is it's as it was a bone, it was bone constraint, and actually it is, but temporarily. It's just on during the pose, the grabbing here. Well, rotation also works if we I think this is glitched. Yeah, it seems to. Okay, so if we grab and then rotate, and then you can R again and X, Z, R, yeah. So there's, you see, this is working with the, so you see that there's a glitch. I'm gonna report that anyways. I need to reset that with G. So it's G, R, pose, then click, then G and click. So you have to double validate. So sometimes it doesn't restore the correct pose that we want, but usually that works. Okay. It was like that before Blender, yeah, in Blender 4.5 LTS and probably before. It is like that in Blender 5.0. Alright, so what we want is to pin this bone. So I think it's possible, but it's like it would need to do more constraint about it, like some sort of locking, temporal lock, right? Of course, there'll be other ways to achieve this, like technically, if you see, first of all, it needs to be disconnected. Or maybe not, maybe not. But okay, let's assume it needs to be disconnected. If it was not disconnected, that would mean that it needs to pin the tail of one of the bones. So let's make a test here. So let's reconnect. It's important to know this because depending on the approach, you see, this is like if it was a Nike bone constraint to a target in space that is unexisting, but it exists internally. Somehow it understands that the tail of the bone, maybe a driver can do that, I don't know. I really don't know, but it's a temporary Nike bone constraint and it is versatile so that we can change, right? And it's the only reason why I can pin this joint without the IQ option is because this is, I'm grabbing the last bone in the IQ chain, and this bone is left unparented. There's not even a if this bone was parented offset or connected, this immediately will be ruined. Of course, it's more about the parent offset than the connect, because if we have a connected bone, well, then the next bone, the previous bone, then here becomes the last bone in the IK chain. So it's all end up if the chain ends, the IK chain ends by having a unparented bone like this one, then this works. The spinning, it's like IK bone constraint. Use tail, right? And also the auto IK length needs to be different than 1. If it is 1, it behaves crazily. If it's 0, it's infinite. Here, just scroll the mouse wheel and then you can reach these different values, right? So here it doesn't matter, right? The more we want, because we are already in the maximum, right? So what I want to make, yeah, it would be cool if we could have this spinning behavior on demand, and not just by grabbing this bone, and not just by having auto IK length different than 1, and not just by... Let's also test something here. Can I... Now, if it is just one bone, we can't... Oh, I need to clear parent, right? Okay, see, 1 doesn't work as expected. Let's unparent here. You see, it doesn't pin... So it doesn't work with a single bone, right? Let's try GR. Now also... Yeah, okay, it doesn't work. Okay, so anyways, it's not important. What important now is that, okay, we want to be how it is. Yeah, so if this is connected, it doesn't mean if I could pin this, even though the chain is connected, that means that I needed to lock this bone in space. But because of the parenting and the connected parenting, this bone, it cannot lock to this. It will, as it moves here, it will displace the head of this bone spontaneously. So unless I need to bone constrain this one, and this could cause rig havoc in normal rigs. This is why I believe that, and of course if I create a stretch 2, bone track 2, that would create a dependency cycle probably. And track 2, dumped track, I don't know. Yeah, so you see something crazy happens. So of course this is not good. So we usually cannot do this. So I'm not sure exactly how we can achieve this if the chain is connected. So this is I could, even if I lock this, the connection is too powerful. It will override the bone constraint. For example, I get a limit location. That's you see, it doesn't do anything, right? Well, if we clear this, right, it wasn't supposed to move, first of all. And if it is, however, if we get a, so this is something more rootly in Blender. Interesting. Okay, so in this case it's not only limit location, but maybe limit rotation. Apparently, you see, it's yeah, we have a limit location. This is working with the unparented chain, disconnected chain actually. And here we target no, it's not copy rotation, it's limit rotation. So maybe this would be the strategy. Right, so no, it's not working, so we need something like I'm not sure this is safe. No, this is owner. This is not the target. So this might work. Okay, so we could use something like this. Okay, this is normal from my key. And so anything that follows here will not be affected. You see, so here we have a pinning, and I want to do this on demand. Then we still want to have, of course, the... Yeah, this is because I'm trying to pose with IKEA bone constraint bone. This is why this bone constraint, they need to be ephemeral. This is why this is an auto IK option is an ephemeral rig solution to posing in Blender. So yeah, this will cause this glitch. This is not a dependency cycle, it's just an auto fix, which is maddening. You see, as long as I don't bring the auto IK chain back to a bone constraint bone, which is in the IK chain, from the auto IK length use, it is safe. And here is fine because, well, this bone cannot be posed, right? It's completely... but you see, the limit location doesn't seem to be working, right? For some reason, but... Oh yeah, this... Yeah, that's why it's not working. The limit rotation is working, so let's see. Okay, let's try local with parent. No, I was looking wrongly. Okay, so fine. So for some reason, this seems to be... This seems to need... Okay, local space, and this local with parent, yeah, for some reason. So I hope this is not gonna ruin the thing, but this is just one option. The problem is because I don't know how internally it creates this ephemeral bone constraint. I don't know the properties of it. I don't know how they build it. But maybe this is where the Copilot Assist can help. Okay, so this is a proposition here. We're gonna duplicate this thing. Just for simplicity, we'll move this to the side. So I'm gonna keep this like some sort of... Okay, actually separate this. So I keep this as a backup. And we're gonna start working on this one, which is simpler, right? Yeah, I'm gonna save this as auto IK option 2.0. Okay. Need a lot of patience, right? Especially if not a programmer. Okay, so implementation knows a few questions, so I implement exactly. Okay, good. Summary of approach. What is MPV? So provide a pose mode tool operator that, when invoked, adds temporarily IK constraints, okay, to the selected bones or active bone with a configurable chain length. Yeah, calls the regular transform for it, so you can move, rotate as usual. Remove the temporary IK constraint when the transform is finished, so the change is only applied when interacting, matching built-in auto IK. Exactly. So this is how we then it auto keying is necessary. It's better to use auto keying with, so it's registered the keyframes of all the chain that has been posed. So you pose here, everything is immediately keyframed. So you need auto keying here for better it's better in my opinion. So, and then of course they disappear, they vanish, the temporary ephemeral constraint. So expose preferences, default chain, yeah, expose, provide a manual, apply temporary I key, and clear temporary pair for easier debugging. Yes, if you can sell, so I wasn't considering it, but yeah, it makes sense. Actually, that's what it does. It's apply the IQ bound constraint, okay? After test the MVP, you can add auto IQ features per bone profile, fall off, persistent preview. As exciting as it may look, maybe nothing works or just insufficiently, so blending between FK. Poll target helpers, no poll target, although that's a good, interesting idea, right? Multi-select handling, key map toggle, I don't know what it's all about, but yeah, this is kind of important, but this is another topic. It's important. There are nodes that affect Blender turns into some breaking changes in the Python. No, none of those Blender features require low-level GPU shader change, but pay attention to properly handling some key map. Operator registration behaves as before, but well, make sure to use the recorded registration patterns. I don't understand this. Okay. We will rely on any internal fast APIs that we can access. We'll implement behavior purely in Python server, okay? Which will be slightly high level, but fully stable. Because built-in is internal logic, a Python implementer will produce behavior for most of it, but maybe for tiny edge case poll handling numeric suppose we can iterate after your test. We see that there's some possibly might not be able to have exact stuff. It will be some things might work differently. But if it works, it works. Open question, please answer. So scope of mimic. Do you want the add-on to mimic like the default for single selected bone transform, or also for multi-bone selection pose library? I don't know why it. Yeah, it is a multi-bone selection. To be of bones as well. 2. Which transformed operation should trigger the temporary I key? Grab and rotation. The rotate Okay, now I'm not gonna say anything. Grab and rotate. default chain, use them or prefer configurables. Ah, this is a great idea. Wow, this is getting good. Wow, is that of course? Let's try this. Thanks. Okay, temporary versus persistent. Should the I key be strictly... How many questions? Okay. I want temporary. Poll targets and pollers. No. Multi-armature, multi-object. Do you need to support more than... No. Seven, we're almost done here. Rig compatible. Any specific rig system that I should be careful with? Testing. Can you run tests? With a simple two-bone chain. It wants a blend file. What I'll deliver for the so you can... A small add-on installable Python or folder with pose in, panel in, pose mode, sidebar with controls change length. An operator that adds temporary to the active, okay, blah, blah, monitor the transform operation, removes the, okay, manually clean up, blah, 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 okay. Manual cleanup operate to remove any temporary constraint if something goes wrong. Add-on preference for default chain length. I'll start by giving you a first pass. A minimal add-on you can install and add. It will request safe manual pair of operators. Apply and operator that tries to run transform while applying. Yeah, but it would be better if here are the yeah, there's a lot of stuff, so it was more complicated than the previous time. Too much information on the files. First, just let me know if this are yeah, there's a very clear set of constraints and it's enough to start. Okay. Summary of what I'll build for the MVP exactly as works on multiple. So see if I asked it to build not the replica of the, but the way I want, it might maybe it might have skipped a lot of fundamentals of the auto IQ option and might not be able to work at all. Could be very erratic. And now I start to build with multiple Python files in this mimic thing. I never know where this. Yeah, I need to click somewhere, but this is code from before. Okay. Works on triggers. Okay, all this is probably the same thing. No particular. You'll run tests in one question before I implement the first code drop. Do you want the add-on to intercept the normal pose mode GR when the add-on is enabled, so that it's transparent and works like the built-in? Or would you prefer explicit UIs operators you press to run move? I prefer that it uses the same key map as the original auto IQ option, since I won't be using them simultaneously. Right. Not intended. The automatic interface is the closest to. Okay, installable folder with the file blend the behavior. Okay. It's taking more time to answer. Apparently it's starting to work more now. Who knows if this means something good or bad. Great, that set of answers is perfect to start. I implement first installable MVP add-on for blah. Okay, so probably we can use this code somewhere. Yeah, so apparently there are still writing. Not sure. Yeah, it's still making the codes here. So apply temporary, okay, blah, 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 all the same. Yeah, it's repeating. So I added a toggle to enable disable the key map intercept, so you can switch between the add-on hotkeys and all right, install the add-on, enable it, and test in pause mode. The read me below includes a short test checklist. What I did delivered. Wrote the add-on as a folder style add-on. Files below. Install the photo zip and install add-on in Blender. Okay, where is the zip file? Zip these into a single. Okay. No, I prefer to get this into. Okay, so have to probably download one by one. Is that it? Init. Well, they'll have a date. And they are all Python files anyway, so easy to find. Yes, zip. Okay, so I didn't read correctly. Okay, now. And this is just the beginning because um okay, so you'll have to all right, sorry folks, we gotta I don't know, it provide me some weird information, so I got confused. So here we got this Python here. We're gonna just to make sure, we're gonna re-download one by one, right? So then we're gonna zip them into that folder. Save in folder. Yeah, save in a folder. Okay, this usually is outside, but I think it will not be the case. So we're gonna just move into a folder. Okay, Control X, new folder. Here, well, auto I key plus. Not sure if change here. Then we got 1, 2, 3, 4. There's wait. Some files were not downloaded. Okay, let's do it again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So there are, yeah, because these are MD and this is something else. Okay. Let's just override here, just in case. Then you have probably twice of. And then we have this license thing, so I can delete this one, rename this thing. Okay, then we got this and this, bring to here. Let's make sure that's the name is as proposed. Auto IKey plus, yes, exactly that. And then we need to zip this. I hope I have the zip. Okay, exactly this one. Now we can install this. Install from disk, download. And apparently it failed. Yeah, okay, starts. Problem started already. So you see it's totally dumb. So something. Yeah, so the headache started already. So apparently what happened here? So this is why this thing is not supposed to be doing on stream, live stream. Of course, if I were a programmer, that will be different story. But the idea here, okay, so thing is installed there, but doesn't show here. So it's like it didn't work. And it, what is this traject? Oh, okay, this is an add-on that I've installed, or maybe an extension. That's kind of for an alternative to animate on or edit. I'm not sure exactly what, but we can draw some path for the bones. I'm not sure this is the best solution here for certain 3D animation problems, also rigging problems. I download because it was free. There are some others that can do this. I wanted to test it, but it's not important. Okay, so here we don't seem to have. We don't seem to have this working. Yeah, so didn't work. Okay, put all this. There's extra information. I suspect this is the case, but you say it doesn't give the proper installation information, so it's very stupid. negliged some important fundamental steps information. Yeah, all this. Wait, what is saying? Package folder. Yeah, I use the package folder. Okay. No, it's not missing. It is. Well, who gave me the file? It says. Okay, so you see, it seems to be contradicting itself. It's got dumber. It was smarter before. Usually it's not like that, but we can't change here. Okay, so well, let's test this then. Or maybe, yeah, it should have gave me a... Oh. Okay, if that doesn't work now, probably this won't work. So I'm gonna keep doing this, but offline, because you see the amount of... and this is just the beginning. So if I can even install this, that is still just the beginning, because then I still have to make sure that it works, and then from there I need to propose new features, because I cannot just start build. Yeah, this will be the other way around. Start to build the Addon that I want, but because I don't know exactly the behavior of AutoKey, it could become more likely to break. This is why it might be safer here, and because it takes time, and I'm not really sure if this will ever work. So this, anyways, so the thing doesn't know, it's sort of blind. Where it start doing stuff, it doesn't even know if it will succeed or not, or if something is possible. It will always often say it's possible, but it will not be capable of breaking down the stuff correctly enough. So it takes time. So the choice cannot be wasting too much time doing this. So I'm just gonna... Okay, so I need to try again. And apparently it's also failed. So it's just it can't be an extension, right? It wasn't installed here. Okay, so that's it, folks. It's I'll continue. I need to make because if this thing can be achieved, then this will be groundbreaking, right? that will, of course, I would use it for my rigs. I'll rig differently. There are many things that I will have to do it myself, because in animation, in rigging, in animation, 3D, right? Blender has this potential, right? They're already on the right track regarding some ephemeral rigging. Apparently, they are aware of the control rig of, for example, Unreal Engine's control rig system, which uses ephemeral rigging. But Unreal is a game engine, so it's not as good for animation as Blender is, because of the UI of Blender. It's very good. And so game engine is also a sort of a generalistic CG software, right? So it cannot be good on everything. So Blender is also the same thing. But Blender system UI for keyframing and stuff like that for 3D animation is very, very good, I think. Many artists talk about this. The problem in Blender is that the rigging sucks. Well, it is okay, but you know, it has crude limitations that are not just Blender's limitation. So, and this is also affects the animation. For example, there is this the problem with the linearity of the interpolation F curves, so it's very stupid. So you need so if you pose, the system doesn't understand, for example, that the animator wants an arc of motion. So if you get, for example, this bone and you start to, I don't know, let's pivot it from the tail. It does, you keyframe here, keyframe here, it will make this motion linear. The bone will not, I believe. Okay, let's just show if that's true. We're gonna make an arc of motion here. This is wrong. We need the dope shit. Let's also make a action here. Okay, where is I never had this problem before. Let's look, playback controls. Okay, like a keyframe here. Let's shift control T. That's it. Yeah. So let's rotate here. You see, it wants to interpolate. So you see this, how stupid this is. And so this is F-curve interpolation stupidity, raw stupidity, right? There are some add-ons that can, of course, if I can sort of make a circular motion, but it's like, it's very bad, right? I think it didn't really work. I think you need to reset this thing. Okay, I don't need, okay, I know what's happening is because you see it's not practical. So what I needed to do is to, yeah, this is super stupid. I need to get this keyframe here, get somewhere in the middle, then jump, and then, and why this is happening? This is still not a perfect arc of motion spontaneous, but it's very close to it, because yeah, it's very close. So would be usable in practice for the most case, but it's super unpractical to have this keyframe. Oh, where is the interpolation? Didn't they, maybe this was Blender 5.1. So you see, you don't see the lines here for this yeah, so this is probably, this had new colors added, but it's not there yet. So this is, we can't recognize, this is not very good, right, to recognize what's going on. I thought it was Blender 5.0, but I think it will be Blender 5.1 or something. Recent edition. So the problem is that Blender doesn't, and probably other CG software for 3D animation, they cannot make the interpolation smart enough. So in Blender there are some features which allows to draw this curve, already did the motion path or something like that. That's very interesting, but many of them are paid, and one of them, traject anim, would be something like that. I don't know how to use it yet. I need an annotation, right? So, and apparently we can do something like convert to curve. I'm not sure if this. Um, Directive. No. Okay, it was made into a. Okay. Apparently I have a curve object, another curve. How many of these there are? Okay. So I'm gonna delete all this. We're gonna reset here. We're gonna draw this. Who knows? Stroke, annotation, automatic. Okay, any of these three works. That's quite interesting. Delete active frame. Now convert to curve or points. Usage points as automatic. Yeah, I think that should be it, but it doesn't seem to be. I don't remember this thing. It doesn't. I remember more features here. Maybe I can't have a keyframe in the to start with. Delete active keyframe. Oh, hold on. Annotation. No, this is just. Oh, here we go. There we go. So there are more. There are many panels here. Maybe I was using the wrong panel. So let's try this. Bone tree. Yeah, the selected and animate position. I think this bone is the parent of many. No, just the active actually. Let's delete again. Animate position. Let's move this. Didn't work, so maybe it didn't understood the. So I don't know if it can read this and step. Yeah, let's make linear. Let's busy. Let's see if that works. And it glitched. Yeah, so whatever. There's lots of things that I need to learn. Right, each add-on. But this is interesting. Actually it's an extension, right? So I want to see if this can solve perhaps some of the FT behavior for this kind of curves, right? Because if you can do the FT behavior or circular curve spontaneously with the bone itself, right? Could be a camera object also, hypothetically, or a camera rigged to. So it will be much easier to make this stuff, right? And anyway, folks, sorry, we don't have any good results here with this add-on, but I'll continue, and if I make progress, if it's possible that this thing works with my hands here, then I'll bring back updates, and that will be good. So yeah, folks, hope that was inspiring for yeah, so we can use this thing. Maybe there are other better AI assistants than this one for Python scripting in Blender. More likely there are, and maybe this one just sucks and I'm using the wrong one, but it's the only one that I have patience enough to have found and test. So I've learned some things, but so far I haven't made anything relevant with it. That's it, folks. Probably it's better to use this for learning some stuff, right? So yeah, folks, have a nice week.